Hello aspirants, this is me Yasmin Gill, and in today's video we'll be covering the PIB highlights of 24th of March. So do follow all the highlight videos on this particular link, and as soon as you view this video, please rate and review the same. So let's begin. Firstly, we have under history culture Khwaja Muinuddin Chishti, who is also referred by the name of Garib Nawaz. Next is India Carpet Expo. So India Carpet Expo, it is being conducted by Ministry of Textiles and exactly by Carpet Export Promotion Council. So it is conducted at New Delhi. Next, we have under society related issues, we have efforts related to the traditional medicine system. So firstly, Ministry of Ayush, with the help of Central Council for Research and Homeopathy, it is actually conducting a scheme known by the name of Homeopathy for Healthy Child. This is done in only 5 states and it has 2 components. One is related to help of homeopathy for teething complaints in children. So this is for the age group of 6 months to 3 years. And the second component of the scheme is integration of homeopathy with Rashtriya Bal Swasthya Karyakram. So this second component, it is for age group of 0 to 18 years. So this is about the particular scheme. Then we have about the drug control or the quality control of Ayush medicine systems. So we'll be studying here certain facts in this slide. Firstly, in order to promote quality drugs, central government have set up 2 institutes at Ghaziabad in UP. One is Pharmacopoeia Laboratory of Indian Medicine. The other one is Homeopathy Pharmacopoeia Laboratory. So both these are set up at Ghaziabad in Uttar Pradesh. Also do remember Ayush systems and allopathic drugs. Both are regulated by a common act. The act is Drugs and Cosmetic Act 1940. Then we come to Drug Control Cell. Drug Control Cell is the one which is concerned with the setting up of standards and quality checks of traditional medicine system. So it comes under Ministry of Ayush and it enforces the regulatory provisions. Also, Drug Control Cell functions as the secretariat for Ayush Consultative Committee. Ayush Consultative Committee is one which advises central government with regard to various Ayush related issues. So do remember one thing, that is both are controlled by a same act. And Drug Control Cell comes under Ministry of Ayush to regulate the quality of drugs in Ayush medicine system. Then we have National Cancer Institute, about which we studied once in PIB as well. So at 2 places it is going to be set up. One is at Jhajjar, the second one is in Kolkata. Then we had this WHO report that was released in 2017. The report is titled Depression and Other Common Mental Disorders. So with regard to India, it said that depressive disorders in India is to the tune of 4.5% of the total population. A similar survey by central government by the name of National Mental Health Survey, it also conducted a survey regarding the depression in India. So this survey was basically conducted with the help of National Institute of Mental Health and Neurosciences located in Bangalore. Then we have Supplementary Nutrition Program. Supplementary Nutrition Program, it's a part of the very famous scheme, Integrated Child Development Scheme. So just like yesterday we did, that take-home ration is provided to pregnant women and lactating mother and children below 3 years. So this is basically under the Supplementary Nutrition Program. Also, what is the quality of ration or what is the nutritional standards? The nutritional standards of the ration are set up by National Food Security Act. Also for this, Food and Nutrition Board functions under Ministry of Women and Child Development. Next we have new National Health Policy, very important article from Indian Express. So see, a few days back we covered this analysis of the new National Health Policy, right? So this is again a new analysis of the health policy as per an article of Indian Express. Firstly, we'll be studying what are the pros of this policy, and next we'll be studying what are the bad points or areas which were not focused upon. So what were the pros? Firstly, it has aptly given the recognition to a strong state intervention which is needed for the health infrastructure in the country. Second, it has understood the value of a dedicated cadre of healthcare professionals. This dedicated cadre can focus on state-specific health issues. Thirdly, this dedicated cadre would be from a diverse set of fields. It would include sociologists, it would include economists, anthropologists, and so on. So these are all timely interventions. Also, an issue which is very often less focused, that is male sterilization. So under this health policy, we'll be focusing on the goal of pushing up male sterilization by 30% and if possible even much higher. Also, how can this be done? See, if you just merely focus on 6 Indian states. So 6 Indian states account for almost half of India's population. If you merely focus on these states and try to incentivize men to get male sterilization rather than using force, so then the strategy might be successful. Then we have aptly integrated the service delivery in the student education. So what happens is that students of medical students who study the courses, they are actually not aware of what is happening on the ground. So appropriate focus have been given to the service delivery as well, so that they get to know of ground realities. Then obviously integration of Ayush, this is a very successful strategy, but the author speaks against it. So the author says that once you're talking about integration of Ayush, you basically try to make Ayush health professionals sit on the side by side to allopathic doctors. So what they do is they merely serve as substitutes to allopathic doctors. Rather, what should have been done was that separate district specialty Ayush centers would have been set up, and not merely as substitutes to allopathic doctors. And what are the areas left unfocused in this policy? Firstly, Clinical Establishment Act 2010, there was no appropriate focus on it. So states have taken very less amount of attention or very less amount of interest in this particular act. Therefore, maybe a particular focus was needed in this policy, but that was not given. But what is this act basically for? It is to regulate the clinical standards in private as well as public health facilities. This will basically help in checking quackery. What is quackery? Whereby anyone and everybody turns out to be doctors, especially in rural areas. So quackery, people often get caught with the medical quacks and they take any amount of medicine without any proper regulation. So this was to be checked upon by this particular act, but it was not. But states did not take interest in it. Also, the health policy did not focus upon this part. Second, as we did in the previous analysis also, health governance was not being focused upon. Also, the policy is somewhat silent upon how to generate resources for health infrastructure. So, it has talked a little about the medical tourism based earnings, but then the author goes on to say, what do you mean by medical tourism earnings? Does that mean that hospitals would be now taxed? If that is so whatever the advantages Indian medical tourism sector has to offer, that might be taken away. Then we have enormous reliance have been given to the ASHA worker. So ASHA worker is an 8th standard pass worker who helps in providing health facilities at the ground level. But the reality is different. People usually do not rely on ASHA workers. What they do, they turn to either quacks or self-styled doctors. So rather what could have been done was a good strategy which West Bengal government followed. It tried to train the quacks because it understood the ground reality that people are focusing more on quacks. So why not train quacks rather? Even WHO report have said, it's a very astonishing fact. So WHO report said that unqualified medical practitioners in India, they account for more than half the doctors in India. So finally, the concluding point is, the author goes on to say that it was good that health was not made a right. Why? Because it would have been a very symbolic right, just like right to education. Overall, it is in the hand of states to implement the program. Maybe we should move to bringing certain steps under the concurrent list so that center can also take action into it. Next, we have under polity governance MOPNG, that is Petroleum and Natural Gas E-Seva. This is basically an online platform whereby you can do your grievance redressal, etc. This is properly coordinated with the social media platforms such as Twitter, Facebook, etc. So this is for Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas. Then we have under economics, we have Benami Transaction Amendment Act. So just for a revision, certain points have been mentioned here. Just do check them out. This is an old topic, so I leave it to you. Then we have roll-on, roll-off service. About it we studied in the PIB. So first of all, it was introduced on Konkan Railway in 1999. Simultaneously, Konkan Railway ran on diesel-based fuel. So on electrified route, roll-on, roll-off service is relatively difficult to implement. Why? Because there might be certain interference from overhead equipments and cables. Then we have under environment, very important topic, coastal governance. So why are we talking of coastal governance? Because there is a new draft coming up. Draft Marine and Coastal Regulation Zone Notification. Though it is not yet out, last such notification was brought in 2011. So what is the need now to bring it again? Because 2011 is not too far away, right? So the question here is that since 2011, various changes have taken place in land use. Also, there was quite a strict implementation of the previous coastal regulation zone, 2011 one. So what happened was, due to that strict implementation, various coastal area development projects were hindered. For example, in Goa, Karnataka, Kerala and so on. So what does the current draft do? Let's see what is the provisions of the current draft. Firstly, it tries to open up coastal areas to development. Secondly, it simultaneously tries to take the fishing communities on board by setting up fish processing units and doing away with the need of environmental clearances to set up fishing infrastructure. So this is what the current draft provides, but the main point of concern here is that the draft proposes to remove the ban. Remove the ban on what? Land reclamation for commercial and tourism activities. And this is more an issue of concern because this ban will also be removed in eco-sensitive areas, and this will promote commercial and tourism activities in eco-sensitive areas, which might not be good for coastal ecology. For example, sand dunes might be destroyed, but sand dunes help a lot in cushioning the coast against strong sea winds. Similarly for mangroves as well. So overall, the author says that there is a trend coming up since 2015 whereby we are neglecting coastal ecology for the purpose of development. For example, since 2015, what we have done is we have allowed the reclamation of seabed for road construction. Similarly, the shacks in Goa, shacks are sort of temporary hut-like structures, which used to be temporary structures. They have almost turned into quasi-permanent ones. So that is not good for the coastal ecology. As far as the community linkage is concerned, since the Coastal Regulation Zone Rules 2011 have come up, the current draft is actually a step backward from those rules. Why? Because those rules involved community to a larger extent. Those rules, they talked of setting up district level coastal communities, having the say of the communities in the regulatory decisions, but the current draft is relatively silent on such issues. So what is needed? We need a more balanced approach between development and coastal ecology. Then we have in security related, we have Crime in India. It's a publication which is published by National Crime Records Bureau. Finally, we have these MCQs from today's session. One is related to artificial sun, very important. Then about semi-cryogenic engine, both were in news. Then about National Dairy Development Board, which completed 50 years. And finally about TB. So this is in context of World TB Day. So do check out all these MCQs and you can find their answers in the course as well. Do rate and review the course. And now since you have viewed this video, just quickly go and recommend these lessons to your friends and rate and review the videos. Thank you so much.